Students, in this session, I'm going to explain you about the classification of proteins. Proteins are classified based on variety of methods, wide variety of methods. So, but you have the classification based on the chemical composition, classification based on the structure or shape, and classification based on the functions. So now let us know. In this session, I'm going to explain you about the classification of proteins based on their chemical composition and based on their shape or structure. So first let us know about the classification of proteins based on the chemical composition. So based on the chemical composition, proteins are classified into three types. These three types include simple proteins, conjugated proteins and derived proteins. So simple proteins, as their name indicate, they yield only alpha amino acids upon hydrolysis. It means if we hydrolyze these proteins, we are going to have only amino acids, alpha amino acids. That's why they are called as simple proteins. Examples, some of the common examples of different classes of proteins that come under these simple proteins are albumins. The most common example for albumins are albumin that is present in the egg, albumin that is present in variety of the wide variety of the plants, and even the albumin that are present in our serum. Okay, these are all the examples of albumins. Then globulins. Okay, globulins. The best example for the globulins are serum globulins. So similarly, prolamines, protamines, glutamines. These are all some of the examples of simple proteins. Okay, the second category of the second class of the proteins are called as conjugated proteins, or they are also called as compound proteins. So these are the proteins upon hydrolysis they yield some non-protein part along with the protein part. Along with the alpha amino acids, they yield some non-protein part or some non-protein molecules, and that's why they are called as conjugated proteins. The best examples for the conjugated proteins are, or the most abundant and common conjugated proteins that are present in our living system are lipoproteins. So as their name indicate, here the non-protein part is lipid. So the lipid is the non-protein part, and example for the lipoproteins are LDL, HDL, even VLDL, chylomicrons. These are all the examples for lipoproteins. Okay, the next class of the conjugated proteins are glycoproteins. See, as their name indicate, they glyco means carbohydrate, sugar. So these are the proteins they are often associated with the carbohydrates, and usually these glycoproteins are very abundant in the ground substance or matrix of our tissue. And the best example for these glycoproteins is mucin that is present in the saliva, mucin of the saliva. These are all, this is the example for glycoprotein. So nucleoprotein as their name indicate, they are they are associated with the nucleic acids. These are the proteins which are associated with the nucleic acids. The most common example is the best example is the proteins that are present in the ribosomes. The best example is, or the best example are ribosomal proteins, because these proteins are associated with the RNA, and only in the presence of RNA these proteins are functional. So that's why they are called as ribonucleoproteins. And in general we say them as nucleoproteins. The next thing is phosphoproteins. The next conjugated proteins is example for, the next type of conjugated protein is phosphoproteins. Phosphoproteins, as their name indicate, these proteins in their serine, threonine and tyrosine residues, they are attached with the phosphate group. Okay, they are bonded with the phosphate groups in their serine, threonine and tyrosine residues, and that's why we call them as phosphoproteins. The best example for the phosphoproteins are the casein of the milk is the best example for phosphoproteins. Then chromoproteins. Chromo means some color. Okay, usually these proteins are often colored, or usually they are associated with iron or heme groups. So such proteins are called as chromoproteins. The best example is hemoglobin, myoglobin, and cytochromes. These are all the examples for chromoproteins. The next one is metalloproteins. As their name indicate, these proteins are usually associated with the metal ions. Most of some of the enzymes are best example for the metalloproteins. They are called metalloenzymes. The best example is carbonic anhydrase. Carbonic anhydrase. So this enzyme is associated with the zinc ion. Similarly, nitrogenase. This nitrogenase is associated with the molybdenum. So these are some of the examples of metalloproteins. So students, these are the, so from, but just by looking at all these examples, it is very clear that along with the protein, some non-protein part is there. And only due to the presence of this non-protein part, these proteins are functional, and that's why we call them as conjugated proteins. Okay, we call such proteins as conjugated protein. And the next type of the third category of this class of proteins is derived proteins. It is a derived proteins. These derived proteins, as their name indicate, they are obtained by the proteins. Okay, they are the derivatives of the proteins. So we all know that the proteins are sensitive to temperature, change in the pH value, and even change in the ionic concentration, or in the presence of some salts they undergo some denaturation, and even in the presence of some organic compounds they undergo denaturation. So because of all these, whatever the products that are obtained, whenever the proteins are subjected to these conditions, the obtained products are called as derived proteins. The best examples for the derived proteins are the sequence in which the derived proteins obtained are from the proteins. If they are hydrolyzed, some bigger products are obtained, and we call them as proteoses. We call them as proteoses. If they are further hydrolyzed, we get peptones. So from the peptones, some large peptides are obtained. And from these large peptides, if they are further subjected to hydrolysis, we are going to have some small peptides. So this is the sequence in which we are going to have the derived proteins, and these are all some of the examples. So the examples for the derived proteins are examples for these are proteoses, peptones, large peptides, small peptides, and even you can write some peptides. Okay, this is about the student. This is about the classification of proteins based on their chemical composition. Now let us know another category of the classification, that is second method of classification, which is mainly based on the shape, or we can say it as structure. Okay, based on the structure of the proteins or based on the shape of the proteins, they are further categorized as globular proteins and fibrous proteins. Let us know what are globular proteins. As their name indicate, these are usually globular in nature or elliptical. Okay, I'm not going to explain in detail about their structure, and I'm not going to explain their structural aspects. But usually, they globular proteins. They are globular in nature, or usually they are elliptical, and often they are soluble in the water or weak acids and weak bases. So most of the proteins that are present in our body are globular proteins. The best examples are most of the protein and peptide hormones are all globular proteins. All our enzymes are globular proteins. Okay, to say a few, these are some of the examples. And these globular proteins are further categorized into these six classes. These six classes are albumins. Okay, these classes are nothing but They are albumins. Albumins are usually water soluble and also soluble in dilute salt solutions. The example for albumins are those albumin that is present in the egg, albumin that is present in the serum. These are some of the examples of albumins. The second type of the globular proteins are globulins. So these globulins are soluble in neutral and dilute salt solutions. Okay, the best examples are the globulins that are present in our serum, or the best example. The next one is glutalins. So glutamins are usually they are the storage proteins. Glutamins are usually they are the storage proteins that are present in the endosperm of the cereals. So they are present in the endosperm of some cereals. Okay, these glutamins are soluble in dilute acids and bases. They are soluble in dilute acids and bases. Okay, the next class of the proteins are prolamines. So these prolamines are also the storage proteins in most of the cereals. Okay, these usually they are soluble in 70 to 80% of the strong alcohol. That is, they are soluble in 70 to 80% of the alcohol, and usually they are rich in the proline and glutamine, and that's why we say them as prolamines. So they are rich in the proline and glutamine. So that's all about the prolamines. The next category of proteins are histones. These histones are basic proteins. I mean, they are rich in the basic amino acids lysine and arginine, and because they are basic in because they are basic in nature, they bind to the DNA. Okay, they are the DNA binding proteins, and usually they are the histones. They are soluble in the water in dilute acids, but insoluble in dilute ammonium hydroxide. Because they are basic in nature, they are not able to be dissolved in the basic solutions, but they are water soluble, and they are soluble in the dilute salt solutions and also in the weak acids. The next one is protamines. So these protamines are also they are strongly basic. They are strongly basic than the histine, and they are smaller than they are strongly basic than the histones and smaller than the histones, and they are also basic proteins, but they are rich in the arginine. They are also DNA binding. They also bind to the DNA. In most of the cases, usually it is these protamines are often associated with the haploid form of the DNA that is found in the sperms. Okay, this is about the protamines. So, students, these are some of the classes of the globular proteins. Okay, now let us know about the fibrous proteins. So these fibrous proteins usually they have some fiber-like structure. They have some fiber-like structure. They are also called as scleroproteins. They are insoluble in water and insoluble in the weak acids and bases, but soluble in the strong acids. And some of these fibrous proteins are even insoluble in strong acids, and they are highly undigestible. And these fibrous proteins often usually they are going to form some of the structural components that are present in the living system. The most common examples for these fibrous proteins are collagen. The most common examples are collagen, elastin, keratins, and fibroins. Okay, the collagen and elastin are found in the ground substance, and that is they are found in the matrix which is found in the intercellular space. Okay, it is the major matrix proteins. Collagen and elastin are the major matrix protein. The next type of this fibrous protein is keratins. Okay, these keratins are highly abundant in the hairs, nails, hooves, and horns of the animals. Apart from this, fibrins are also examples of these fibrous proteins. So fibrins are those which are present in the silk fibers, and the fiber and the proteins that are present in the spider webs. These are all, to mention a few, these are all the examples of the fibroids. Apart from this, even the feathers of the birds are also these fibrous proteins. Fibrous proteins are examples for this keratins. So students, that's all about the classification of the proteins. Classification of the proteins based on their structure or based on their shape.